everybody, and welcome to the Football Philosophy channel. And this is the latest edition of Red Through and Through. And today, I'm delighted to be joined by Adam Fahmi, who's in Quebec. Hi, Adam.
Hi. How you doing, mate?
And also with Tom Whittingham, who's in Cardiff. Hello, Tom.
Hi, guys. How you doing? You okay?
Very well, mate. Very well indeed. So if I start with you, Adam, obviously you live all the way over there in Quebec. What's your link with United? Are you family United fans, or how did you become a United fan?
Yes, my family's a United fan. It's mostly my father. My family was born in Morocco.
Right.
And when my father was around 5 or 6 years old, he heard about someone winning a Ballon d'Or, but he was like 5 or 6 years old. So he heard about, I believe it was Bobby Charlton in 1966, I believe, when he won the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah.
And as a child, the idea of someone winning a ball was made in gold just stuck with him.
Right.
And then ever since that day started following Man United because Bobby Charlton was playing for Man United. So even since he was 6 or 5 years old, he just went on with United because when he was young, he heard about someone winning a ball was made in gold.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And ever since that day, he moved to Quebec in 89.
Right.
And he was already a United fan by then. And I was born in 95, my brother in 99.
Right.
So we grew up with Man United. It's always been Man United. And my dad's a literature teacher, and he specializes in William Shakespeare. So everything at home is British. Everything at home is English.
Right.
So we are well connected to the UK culture ever since we were born and since forever. So United has always been part of the house.
So you say you were born in 95.
Yes, exactly.
Too early to remember. Too early to remember the treble year. Then obviously that's just a little bit before your time. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And you, Tom, are you from Cardiff or?
Yeah, I'm from Cardiff. My dad, I think my dad actually, Rick, is I think he was born in 1958, so he's probably similar age to you, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I was born in 58, yeah.
Yeah, and so he was a massive United fan all his life. He remembers the 1968 title Champions League win, and he obviously in 99 he was the same age as you in 99, and I was born in 2002, so I actually remember the Champions League winning year in 2008. That's one of my first memories of Man United, was the 2008 Champions League win against Chelsea. He was a Man United fan for his whole life, and now I'm absolutely mad. So yeah, that's basically my background about United and how I became a fan of them, and yeah, just fell in love with the game when I was young and progressed through there, really.
Right, brilliant. So I wanted to mention that with this being a Red Through and Through show, that there's quite a lot of people out there, mainly on social media, who talk about United fans, and some people think some fans are better than other fans. I'm not one of those people. There can be all different manner of reasons why you might not follow the team in the flesh, and you might watch it on the TV. Obviously, being in Quebec, even in Cardiff, it could be any manner of reasons, work commitments. Have you been to Old Trafford, Adam? I'll start with you. Have you ever been to England?
I've been to England. I've never been to Old Trafford. The only time I went to England, the season was off. So there was that short period of time. There was no game before pre-season and after the end of the season.
Right.
I've watched United in the flesh in 2010 when they came to Canada. They made a North America tour.
Yeah.
So they came to Toronto. I believe 2010 when they came to Toronto. Toronto for us is a 10-hour drive, so we took the time to go. The country is quite big, so we went there. We saw Ryan Giggs, we saw Rooney, we saw Nani. It was a special moment. It was just the season. I think the season right after Cristiano Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
So my little brother was gutted, but then again,
I've lost count of times, the number of times that I've been in a different country and United have been playing at home, and I've watched it on the, I walk into a bar and I sit and watch the game. You always get talking to United fans. I've watched, I've been on holiday in the States, Australia, European countries, and always watch United if they play. And even, like I say, if I'm at home, I go to the games. But once you get talking to somebody in a bar, it's great to meet another United fan from another part of the world. And I never say, it might come up in conversation, obviously, but I never say to them, I go to all the games, I'm a better fan than you are. If you're a United fan, you're a United fan, and that's that for me. What about you, Tom? Do you get to many games?
I usually, obviously, with the last year, no one's been going to games, but I usually get to about 3 or 4 a year, which is a decent number. I remember last year I went to the season when we lost 2-0 to Cardiff at home. Obviously, Cardiff. I had a season ticket at Cardiff as well that year. I used to go to all the Cardiff games, but then I went to that game, and obviously Cardiff beat us 2-0, didn't they? And all my Cardiff mates were loving that. But I tend to go 3 or 4 times a season. And I absolutely love it. I love Old Trafford. I've been to Anfield, I've been to other stadiums, but Old Trafford's the best one for me. I just love it.
Have you been, when you say you've been to Anfield, is that to watch United play Liverpool?
United play Liverpool. We did a double over them. We won 2-1 both home and away, and we beat them 2-1 at Anfield. That was brilliant. I love that. It was where, if you remember, I think it was it either Raphael or Fabio scored that worldie from the side. Yeah, that game it was.
Yeah, I remember that game. I remember. Is your family United fans? Are you from a family of United fans, Tom? Or
yeah, I mean, my dad is a huge United fan, the same as me. I'm not really sure about I think his father was a United fan as well, but I haven't really discussed that with him. But in terms of me and my dad, massive United fans. Don't miss a game, not a chance.
Right. I'll ask you both this one then. I'll go back to Adam first. Your very first memory of watching United. Can you remember the first time, or the first one you can remember?
Yes, well, maybe if I recall, I believe maybe the season 2000, I think my first memory was probably when Ryan Giggs against Arsenal went against David Seaman, and he beat the keeper, and I think he didn't score. The ball went over. He missed an empty net. I don't know if you can recall that.
I remember that. I think did he hit the bar, or did he hit the crossbar? I remember the situation. He dribbled round Seaman on the edge of the box, didn't he, and chipped it. He had a completely empty net. Can't remember. Exactly. He certainly missed. I can't remember whether he hit the bar or it went over the bar, but he certainly missed. Yeah.
I believe he went over the bar. That was probably my first memory. I think it was the 2001 season, and I remember telling my dad, I remember what he remembers. And I told him, that Ryan Giggs guy is not that great, is he? And I remember my dad being almost offended, like, you better start showing some respect. You're talking about Giggs here. But I was like 5 years old, so I didn't know much. And that was probably my first United memory that I vividly remember.
Oh, brilliant. And you, Tom?
For me, I was 6 years old, nearly 7, when we won in Moscow against Chelsea. And that was my first big memory. I remember the game was yesterday. And it was just what a memory, really. That was my first one. That was when obviously we were in a bit of a period, not quite the same now, but that was definitely the first big memory I have of United. 100%.
Yeah. And if United are playing, or when United are playing, I'm talking pre-COVID, obviously. I take it you'd watch most of the games on the TV. Would you watch in a bar, or are you a person who'd watch it at home?
I prefer watching it at home because I'm from Cardiff. Cardiff fans hate United fans, and they hate United. So I've watched a game in a bar before, and I think we lost, and we were losing 2-0 at half time or something, and you just get so much stick, and you just get so much banter thrown your way. I just prefer watching it in the house where I'm safe from all of that, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Good shout. And what about you, Adam? Are you a bar person, or are you a home person for watching a game?
I would love to watch United in social space, in a bar or in a restaurant, but the thing is, with football in Canada, it's growing in popularity. But growing up, it was very tough to get games anywhere else. We had to switch TV provider every 2 years, depending on who shows the United games. So every 1 year it is that TV provider, the year after it was another one. So even on the TV, it was quite tough at a certain time. So they don't show the United games that much in bars or restaurants, so it has always been difficult to watch United games. But now it's growing more and more in popularity. The last 6-7 years, more people follow football in Canada and North America in general. So it's growing in popularity. You see people wearing shirts. I see a lot of City and PSG shirts. This is quite disturbing the last few years. And it's mostly at home. You don't get to watch it anywhere else.
Let's call it soccer for the fans who might be watching from over there.
Yes, but exactly.
Soccer's growing massively in the States, isn't it? I think the MLS to me is coming on in leaps and bounds, I think. It's a real
Yes. It's growing up. It's going very, very well. Very well. I'm not watching MLS because I grew up on the Premier League, so it's tough. You know, it's tough. I used to watch. I used to watch Lampard for Chelsea. I can't watch Lampard for New York. It's not the same thing. I grew up on the Premier League, so but it's growing in popularity massively. I have a lot of friends who never watch football, and now they watch every Champions League game, and they have their own football club in England, Chelsea and City or Arsenal or whatever.
I know Toronto have got a team in the MLS, haven't they? Is there any other Canadian teams in it, or just the one? I think there's just the one, isn't there? No, Vancouver team as well, isn't there? Yeah.
Yes, Montreal have a club as well.
Yes,
And maybe another one, but I'm not so sure. But Toronto and Montreal, that's 100% sure. Yes. Well, Thierry Henry was the manager of Montreal just recently.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
got that. Back to United then. A question that I've set up just for a little bit of fun. I'll start with you, Tom, on this one. If you could have 3 players back that you've seen play for United in the past, you know, which 3 players would you take back?
For me, 100% my first pick would be Paul Scholes. I mean, I didn't even see him properly in his prime like you guys probably have. Yeah. And to me, he's probably the best footballer I've ever seen play for United. I mean, people go on about the whole Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes debate. For me, I just think if you watch Scholes, if you know the game enough, you'll just know who was the superior player. The way he just controlled the game was just incredible. So definitely Paul Scholes. Cristiano Ronaldo, just don't make him. What a player, what a footballer. That 2008 season where he won the Ballon d'Or, he was just unbelievable. And then third one's a difficult one, but I'd probably go for either Rio Ferdinand or Wayne Rooney, because I mean, nowadays we look at our centre halves, Rio's 10 times the player either of those two are, and then you got Rooney, who's just Wayne Rooney, world-class footballer. Probably should have done more in his career, but what a footballer, and he made me fall in love with the game. So
you've named 4 there, really, but you've got to go on. I'll have to press you. Take one of them out. You can only have 3.
I'd probably go with Rooney then instead of Rio.
You'll go with Rooney. Okay, that's not a bad. But you've chosen 3 attacking style players there, haven't you? It's very interesting. And Adam, have you got a 3 that you'd love to see back?
Yes, but that depends.
I bet there's at least one. I bet there's at least one that's in Tom's 3.
Yes, probably. Probably. But it depends on the question. Is it just 3 players that would like to see back, or 3 players that you would like to see back for the team now?
Because the team now, really, it's up to you, really, how you want to do it. But if you think, well, we need strengthening in a certain position,
because I was probably going to say Paul Scholes. I really loved Carrick too, but probably Paul Scholes, because just as Tom said, he's just a beautiful, beautiful footballer. Cristiano Ronaldo. And probably, for me, it's always difficult between Rio and Vidic. I'd say Vidic.
Right.
I'd say Vidic. Yeah. But there's no, just because Vidic is more of a defensive, he's a strong centre half, a very, very strong centre half, but I love them both equally. There's no, but if I have to think, considering the actual United team, I'll probably have to put Gary Neville in there.
Right, yeah. A lot of people have a go at me on Twitter for being defensive-minded, and I'm a great believer in starting by trying to keep a clean sheet, being difficult to beat, and if you can get 1 goal, then you only need 1 goal to win. And if I could choose any 3 players that I could choose to have back, I would probably go with Jaap Stam and Rio Ferdinand as a central defensive pairing, and then Roy Keane as my central defensive midfield player. And I don't think we'd ever get beat, do you mean? Or very rarely. And I think if you never get beat, that's a good start. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good foundation to build on.
You know, people have a go at me for being so defensive minded, but I'm pretty sure most top coaches would give you a similar answer to that. Do you know what I mean? Rather than just thinking about the flamboyant players. But I do get why people love to see the players. Don't get me wrong, fantastic players that you've both spoken about. Paul Scholes, I don't think I've ever seen a better footballer. I know what you're talking about, Tommy. He could run the game for you, couldn't he? Do you know what I mean? Absolutely run the game for you. And one other question, slightly similar. Is the one player still playing who's played for United, but obviously now playing elsewhere, that you'd take back in a heartbeat? Let's start with you. Let's start with you, Adam, on that one.
That's a difficult one. That's a very difficult one, because Just probably just like you, I have many opinions that are not very popular within the fan base.
Yeah.
But with hindsight now, and considering the way we play, I'd have either Smalling back or, instead of one of the two at the back. Even and this is not very popular, but even Matteo Darmian I'd take back, and probably even Romelu Lukaku. The way we play, because I'm a strong believer that I would rather have Marcel on the left and Lukaku up front at this moment in time, really 10 times out of 10. And Lukaku, the only place where he hasn't scored as much as he could have or should have is at United. He's a top goal scorer, whether you like him or not. He's a top goal scorer. So
he did get 27 in his first season with us, didn't he? And I think in his second season he got 17, which by our standards now is still good, isn't it? Still good. But
absolutely.
And in that season when he got 17, that was under Mourinho, and he didn't pick him. In fact, Ole took over as well, didn't he? While he was there, and I don't think he played anywhere near as much as he should have been doing. So he'd have been over 20 again, I think, in his second season. So I wouldn't disagree with that. And I'm not necessarily saying I'd take all those players back, but I do think they're underrated players. I agree with you on Matteo Darmian. I think he's a fine fullback. And I like him as well. What about you, Tom? Is there a player playing still now that you wish we still had?
For nostalgia reasons, got to be Ronaldo. But obviously, what is he, 36 now, and he's getting on. Yeah. I'd probably go with I wasn't always his biggest fan, but I'd probably go with Lukaku. Just you guarantee goals, and if you guarantee goals, you have a better chance of winning the game, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Right, bringing it a little bit more up to date then. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm not asking either of you to sort of say I'm Ole in or I'm not. I mean, you can if you want, but I'm not even going to ask you if you're Ole in or Ole out. If I start with you, Tom, is there any particular thing about Ole that you wish he would brush up on, or something you'd like to, or even credit him for that you think he doesn't get enough credit for?
I just want us to play better football than we do. I think if you look at league position and you look at how we've done since he's taken over, you'd say pretty much points wise, you can't really ask for too much more. I mean, you could, but the way we play football, we don't pass the ball well enough. We don't create enough chances. We've got too many players who are trying to be the main star, and too many players who try and play too many stupid passes and take too many stupid shots and don't play the easy option enough. So for me, I wish he would drill into them the way Fergie used to, the way top managers do, the way Tuchel is now at Chelsea. I wish he would start to play football simpler, and we would create more chances. We'd be a better side for it. In terms of things I think he should be credited for, I think we have come a lot. I think this is the best we've been since Alex Ferguson. I know you'd probably say Van Gaal. I know you're a big fan of Van Gaal, Rick. But I would personally say this is the best we've been since Sir Alex. And I think he needs credit for that. And the fact that we're second in the league, only to a fantastic Man City side, is good. And I know Liverpool have dropped a lot due to injuries and stuff, but I would say he just needs to play better football in the whole of it. Just play better styles of football, and we need to create more chances.
Right. And you, Adam?
I'm very harsh on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm very, very harsh. I have a lot of issues with the way we play, the lack of consistency in the way we pick players. And people criticize you for being too defensive, Rick, but I have to agree with you on even the most attacking managers, they set up their teams in how to defend first. If you defend by pressing the ball, you have an attacking team. If you defend by setting up and holding back like Jose Mourinho did, like Rafa Benitez did, then you counter on the break and you score goals on the counter. If you have to set up how you want to defend, and the way you want to defend will lead you to how to attack. And I don't see that pattern with Man United. How do we defend? How do we sit back? We sit back against Man City, and just like you said, it seems as though City is the only team he rates. Like he believes we can play every team out of the park and accept City, so we sit back against them. We don't know how to defend. We concede goals that we should not be conceding, and not because Maguire or Lindelof. We should not be conceding those goals because it feels like a lack of organization, a lack of discipline, a lack of structure. There are some very fundamental football bases that seems to be missing. For example, and you've watched English football for a long time, Rick, way longer than me, for example. And I would like to have your opinion on this point. When you have a team holding a 1-0 lead, for example, there are maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes left. Usually when you bring on a center half, you don't put it at the back and you switch to a back five. You usually put him in the midfield, don't you?
I would agree
Because
with that.
after 90 minutes, a centre half pairing, they are used to each other and they are very focused in what they do. If you switch the formation, if you switch them into a back three, they unsettle. They're unsettled.
Confusion. It can cause confusion.
And you're most likely to allow a goal because everything seems to be. This is very basic. This is very basic to me. This is the stuff that we don't want David Moyes at United, and we don't want Steve Bruce at United, and we don't want Sean Dyche. But they wouldn't make that mistake. They wouldn't make that mistake. And Pep Guardiola, as fancy as he is, and as great a footballing mind as he is, and Pep, they know that. They know that even though their football is very attacking, very expensive, you don't switch the back four when there's 5 minutes left, for example. You don't play a back three and you play Wan-Bissaka right wing back, exposing every single one of his weaknesses and absolutely none of his strength. And I'm not a big fan of Wan-Bissaka, but he's an all right footballer. He can do a job, but don't push him into a position in which you expose his weaknesses even more. He doesn't need that and he doesn't deserve that. So there are many, many things with Ole Solskjaer that I just don't understand. What is his thinking? For example, Pep Guardiola, we know Pep Guardiola is from Johan Cruyff and Marcelo Bielsa. His thinking is when you have the ball, you make the pitch big. When you don't, you make it small. When you have the ball, you cannot make a mistake. When you have the ball, you cannot concede a goal, I mean. So that's the basic principle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jurgen Klopp, we know Jurgen Klopp is from the Ralf Rangnick German school of football. So there's an entire thinking. They press when the opposition's team back four moves forward. So there's a very, very specific difference between the way City and Liverpool play. Liverpool, they press when the opposing back four moves the ball forward. So that's why Liverpool are very good against teams that play in position, and they are not so good against teams that sit back. They have a hard time breaking us down. They have a hard time against Burnley, against Newcastle, against Palace, but they will smash Arsenal and they will smash the teams that go at them. One of the few teams that can beat City is the Jurgen Klopp's team. So we know Pep Guardiola belongs to that school and Klopp to that school. Where does Ole subscribe? What is his thinking? This is what I have a massive issue with him.
Yeah. I like the point that you made about about if you're hanging on to a lead and bringing on an extra defender. I'd be much more inclined to bring on an extra midfield player. If you can stifle the opposition in midfield, it's not just about stopping them from playing through the midfield, but you're also filling more space. And you're also, even if they want to go down the line of putting balls in the box, they've got to put that ball in the box from somewhere. So, if your midfield players, you might prevent them from doing that so often, rather than thinking, well, I'm going to put an extra centre half in to defend the high ball. Why not put an extra midfield player in and try and prevent them putting the high balls in or even fewer of them. So I do agree with that. Something else you touched on, and I'll bring this to Tom. A lot of people, and I'm not asking you this question, you've probably seen my opinions if you've seen me on the United stand and what have you. I'm not asking you to agree with my opinion. I'm interested in your opinion. But a lot of people talk about us, because Adam touched on your back four pushing up and keeping the other team pressed back, which is the football that I like to see play. But there are people out there saying that we can't do that because we haven't got pace in our two defenders and two central defenders. And people seem to think that we need Eric Bailey or another quick player playing. How do you think about that, Tom? Do you agree with people who say that?
To a certain extent, I do. I do think if you have a faster centre half next to Maguire or Lindelof, you are going to see us press forward as a team further. And we're going to play further at the pitch. And obviously with Bailly, he is pretty quick. And I'm not sure Bailly is the answer. I don't think Bailly is consistently good enough for Man United. He's too rash and he makes wrong decisions a lot of the time. But if you do have the faster player, it does allow you to play further at the pitch. And I think when we have played further at the pitch this season, I can't remember the exact games. I believe he played in the Everton game when in the quarterfinal of the Carabao Cup. And that was actually, I think that was the best we've played all year. We had I think it was Bailly Maguire, wasn't it? And we were fantastic the whole game and we ended up winning 2-0. Those are the sort of games you look at and you think, yeah, we definitely need to play this sort of way because it works. But I'm not saying Bailly is the answer. Obviously, you got Axel as well. But I would go along with that. I would say that if you have a quicker centre half next to Maguire, it does allow you to have more freedom and play with a bit more, what's the word I'm trying to look for? A bit more, it's hard. It's just a bit more, you can just take a couple more risks, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I would suggest.
Okay, interesting. And do you agree with him, Adam?
The argument of if we play Bailly, we're allowed to play higher up the pitch. I think it's quite flawed in a sense, because having a fast player is not what will allow you to play higher up the pitch. It's being drilled into knowing how to play higher up the pitch. If you know how to pass, if you have patterns, if you put triangles, if you know how to move the ball, you can play higher up the pitch. The pace is necessary if you lose the ball. And the intent is not to lose the ball. So you need to know how to play with the ball first, and then you think about how, if you lose it, who will cover it. I play Eric Bailly simply because I rate him more than the other center half. I just like Eric Bailly. He feels erratic, and what I've noticed with you, Rick, probably is that you like the players who, I believe you are nervous during games, and you like the players who will make you feel less nervous. And this is the feeling I get. But I just rate Eric Bailly, so I would play him, but not because he allows us to play higher. I think the coaching staff does not allow us to play higher. We need to pass the ball better. We need to get hold of that ball, and if you want to pass better and to get hold of the ball, you need to think of how to do that. Do you press? What do you do to keep the ball? So Eric Bailly playing or not playing, I don't believe it has a massive influence on playing higher up the pitch.
What would
Adam, sorry, Rick.
Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, I actually agree with what Adam's saying, but I tell you what, it'd be perfect if you had someone with Lindelof's calmness and assurity, and then with someone with Eric Bailly's pace. If you could mix those two together, you'd have a brilliant centre half there. You'd have
I totally agree.
Well, the next question, what I was just about to say, and you might have just answered it. Who would be your favourite pairing? Tom, who would be your favourite pairing out of the three centre backs that we tend to use a lot?
It would be, I think it would be Maguire and Bailly. Just.
Yeah. And you, Adam?
Lindelof and Bailly.
Lindelof and
Bailly.
Right, interesting. Yes. No place for an £80 million centre back, eh?
Yes, I'm not over that one still. Especially after watching the game against Leicester, and I don't know if you've noticed that Wesley Fofana, the centre half they have at Leicester, the youngest French centre half.
He looks proper.
They did a trick on us there. They fleeced us. They really did.
Johnny Evans is still fantastic, isn't he?
Johnny Evans. Smalling has left.
On that game, the Leicester game, what did you think about the in making so many changes? Do you think it was necessary? Should he have rested players for that game like he did? Adam?
That game was pretty embarrassing in many ways. I felt Pogba. I wanted Pogba to play, but Pogba, Donny van de Beek, and Martial all coming back from injury. That was risky. Leicester is a very, very good team. They have a very good manager. I really like Alex Telles, but I would have played Luke Shaw. The 4 subs at the same time, I thought that was embarrassing. That felt amateurish at best. You don't switch 4 players at one time. It feels like a hockey subs.
Yeah.
No,
it's like a kids game, isn't it? So yes. You know, I believe that when you put your team out there, you should believe that team's got the best chance of winning the game for you. And I believe that when you make one substitution that's a tactical substitution, maybe not with one, but just perhaps you're actually sort of admitting that you've made a mistake right from the start. That's the way I feel about it. You know, obviously, years and years ago when I was a young man, your substitutes were really there for when somebody got injured. That was your favourite 11, and you didn't change it unless somebody got injured. You know what I mean? That was the idea of substitutes in the first place, and it developed into, we can actually make this change because it's a tactical change, and he might improve the team. It wasn't like that in the very first instance with substitutes. So I believe you're looking at, so when, from it possibly making you look a little bit weak from making one substitute and he's making 4 all at the same time. Yeah. It's a little bit like, I used to run kids teams. In kids teams, you've got to give the kids a run out on the field, haven't you? It almost feels a little bit like that. We've got to give them all a run, make all these changes all at once. I thought I really did think that was crazy. What about, Tom, what about the Donny van de Beek? How do you feel? How do you stand on Donny van de Beek? Do you think he's getting treated badly, or it's just no room for him? How do you feel?
I think the players he consistently picks over him, the fact that he doesn't get any game time, it's actually nothing short of a disgrace. The fact that he's as a footballer, he's miles ahead of basically all of our footballers. Maybe I'd put Pogba outside of that and Martial outside of that. But the fact that he consistently, uses Fred, McTominay over him, and I'm telling you for a fact that Van der Beek could play in either of those two positions and do a far better job. He'd also keep the ball a lot better. The way he played, I've seen him obviously in the Champions League with Ajax. He was, for me, there was him and De Jong and De Ligt were the three when they were the best players in the team. For me, Van der Beek was the best out of all three of them. And the fact that he hasn't been using, it's absolutely disgraceful. I can't believe Ole hasn't used him. It's awful.
Where do you stand, Adam, on that? What Tom's just said?
Yes, I really like Donny van der Beek. I think he's a very clever footballer. The problem with Donny van der Beek is, and that was sound maybe weird, but I don't believe he fits our lack of system. if there's a way, that's the way I see it. I don't think he fits, because the players who thrive under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the moment are the players who are not disciplined at all. Those who will give you that long ball or that long shot, who will try to take a shot and will deflate. Those Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes are the players who are thriving, who are putting up great numbers, so-called great numbers, because I believe they're fine.
Yeah.
Because they do pretty much whatever they want, and that's one diff. Because I know you rate Dan James in the sense that we play better with him, and he brings a structure to the team. I think, and maybe I'm reaching too far with that, but I believe that even the coaching staff believe that Dan James is not as gifted footballer as Marcus Rashford and Greenwood. So it feels like they are giving him instructions and he follows them, and it shows. While Greenwood and Rashford are not given any instruction, they're just told to go and play. And maybe that's the difference between why we score so well with James and not so well maybe with the others. He has a planned match for Dan James and he does it well. And that's pretty much it. And that, going back to Donny van der Beek, he looks lost on the pitch because he's used to a team with Ten Hag with, just like Tom said, De Ligt, De Jong, Ziyech, a team that was very, very well drilled. Lars Schöne in midfield. He looks lost because who wouldn't be lost in our team? You look at Matic, people slate Matic. Matic is one of the most intelligent players we have and probably one of the most intelligent players in the league. And sometimes people say he doesn't care, but I would be him in that position, seeing other people do absolute nonsense on the pitch, and I would feel like, what am I going to do? What can I do even? So I really rate Donny van der Beek, and I would want to see him more of him, but it's probably even better that he doesn't play because he can't get slated that way.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. It might be a valid point, Adam. On the midfield roles that we just touched on, you probably both know my favourite pairing. But what's your? Would you, if you were going to play in the same style, that we're playing with two players who have got to be in that position and not get caught too far forward, So I'm not asking you to change the style, but playing in the same style, which two players would you pick, Tom?
If we're playing Pogba off the left, which I would, instead of Rashford, he's just miles ahead of him, I'd have McTominay and Van der Beek.
Right. Okay. Adam, would you agree with that, or would you go a different route?
No, I'd go different. If we play the 4-2-3-1, like Ole says, and we don't switch the tactics, because that's what I would do, I'd go Matic and Pogba. I think they are the two most suited players for a 4-2-3-1. I think that's the perfect balance. And if you understand fundamentally how the 4-2-3-1 works, the way it's built, you cannot really do better than Matic and Pogba in world football, in the sense that you need a good passer of the ball who is a proper midfielder, and you need a good, strong, holding defensive midfielder. And that's probably the best pairing you can get.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have Pogba. Pogba would be my first name on Man United's team sheet every single day of the week. I'm just saying, if we're playing Pogba on the left wing, then I'd have those two. But if we're playing Pogba's 100% got to be in the two if he's not playing on the wing. So, yeah.
I was hoping for when Marcus was injured at the weekend, could make no mistake. Well, I'm about to say make no mistake. He did rest players anyway, didn't he? Maybe Marcus might have got rested at weekend anyway, but he was injured at weekend, wasn't he? So when Pogba got a start, I mean, I said it on the show that I was on the other night. I was devastated that Luke Shaw got left out as well. I'm a firm believer, and if you've got to make a change, you want the rest of the team to be as solid as possible around that player, to give that player his best chance. And the way I look at it, giving Pogba a game on the left like he did it was a bit like throwing him in there with, with one arm tied behind his back. Really, that's the way I look at it. Give him his best possible chance and keep the rest of the team around him as strong as possible, and with the continuity as well. The lads around him that are playing regularly would have helped him, I thought, and he would have played better. But that applies to all of them. What about the keeping situation, lads? What's your thoughts on that? Let's start with you, Adam, on that one.
I'm not so sure on Henderson yet because he's a young keeper, but I like him. I like what I see from him. I like his authority in the box. I like the way that he comes and he grabs the ball. He shouts. He talks with his back four. So I like that, and this is what is required for modern football at this moment in time. You need a goalkeeper who is really part of that back five. And I would have played probably. I would have been David De Gea probably 2 seasons ago. I've had it with him. That's over for me. Right. And we've had greats from the past leave. We had Scholes leaving, we had Carrick leaving, we had Keane leaving. So if David De Gea goes, I was heartbroken when David Beckham left in 2003. I would never got over that one. So if David De Gea goes, well, that's all right, because that's the thing. Now we feel like we are getting further and further away from Sir Alex Ferguson. So the standards are lowering slowly and very subtly. So if David De Gea goes, we feel like we are lost as a fan base, but that's not the case. I would have played Sergio Romero. The last 2 trophies we won them with him. I would have played Sergio Romero, and that would have given us the time to assess Dean Henderson more properly. And Romero is an older keeper, so Henderson wouldn't put that much pressure because he would know that his time is coming. Yes, in 2-3 seasons, I might be the number 1 goalkeeper. There's no doubt about it. But now with the De Gea situation, you can't have 2 first goalkeepers. It feels weird to me. It feels weird to me.
Tom?
I wouldn't disagree with him. I think I've had it with De Gea as well. I think every single time I watch United play and he's in goal, every cross, corner, set piece, I just have no faith that he's going to come out and command his box, because I know against Sheffield United at home, he did get fouled, but there's been multiple times where you don't feel like he's going to catch the ball. He tries to punch it. He doesn't seem like he doesn't seem like he's going to get to the ball before a striker or a defender. And that for me is just terrible. With Henderson, I feel a lot more faith in him that he's going to command his box better. So for me, I would get rid of De Gea in the summer. I don't know who's going to take him on his wages, but hopefully we'll get rid of him. And then I would keep Dean Henderson and maybe then try and bring in a youth goalkeeper, because I think Romero wants to go, doesn't he? I think he wants to go in the summer. I don't think he's very happy with the way he's been treated. So I'd keep Henderson and maybe try and get another number 2 in.
Obviously, England are playing tonight, aren't they? I know it's only San Marino. Probably I could play in goal for England tonight, but there's a few people thinking Henderson will get selected. They've got 3 World Cup qualifiers in a week, haven't they? And the toughest one's next week against Poland, next Wednesday, that is. So I'll be really interested to see who they go with. I don't watch Burnley very often, but from what I see of Nick Pope, I think he really looks the part, mate. I really do. And I'll be dead interested to see. I don't think it matters tonight, or possibly even against Albania, which I think is on Sunday. But next Wednesday, I'll be really interested to see who's between the sticks for England. And if it's Henderson, that'll be a right coup for him, so to speak. Obviously, we're out of the FA Cup now. We reached 3 semi-finals last year, and Ollie was. I found it a tad embarrassing, to be honest. But Ollie was quoted last year as saying, we've climbed a little bit in the league, we've qualified for the Champions League, and we've reached 3 semi-finals. Reaching semi-finals of the League Cup and the FA Cup. I mean, maybe if you was reaching the semi-final of the Champions League, I'd say that's maybe something worth shouting about. But reaching the semi-final of the FA Cup, where you're playing against the likes of Tranmere along the way, and the League Cup where we knocked Rochdale out along the way on penalties. I don't think it's a lot. I mean, we did have a couple of tough draws. We beat Chelsea in the League Cup, didn't we? This year we beat Liverpool in the FA Cup. But I don't think it's a lot to shout about me reaching semi-finals. But obviously there's still the Europa League to go for. They've drawn Granada, aren't they, from Spain. I don't know a lot about them. You shouldn't really. Look, I always say this: the club, the coaching staff, the players, they can't think like this. But as a fan, it's okay to think like this. I think we should beat Granada, shouldn't we? We should, you'd imagine we would knock them out. And in the semi-final, we would be playing, I think it's Roma or Ajax. I think that's right, isn't it? Roma or Ajax. Do you fancy us to get through that, Tom, if we play Roma or Ajax this time round in a semi? Do you fancy us to get to a final this year, in other words?
Well, yeah, I think we've had the hardest test we're going to have in the Europa League until the final. If we get Arsenal, which I think it will be Arsenal, I think Milan will probably, besides us and maybe Spurs, I know Spurs aren't doing great at the moment, we're probably the best side in it. And I actually thought our performance in the second leg against Milan was actually thoroughly good and professional. So I think we will get through Granada. They're quite a lot lower than Sociedad, who we just destroyed in the league. I think we'll get through this draw, and that I think it'll be Roma. I actually think it'll be Roma, and obviously it'll be Smalling, Mkhitaryan. I think we'll be all right, but it won't be easy at all. But I think we'll be okay.
Adam, do you think the same?
I'm not confident at all. I'm really not confident at all.
What, are you confident against Granada, though? Are you confident against Granada?
Just because we should. But if I'm being brutally honest, you never know what United team will turn up. I really, you never know what to expect. You really don't. I think we will go through. We will go past Granada because we must. But Ajax or Roma, I think we'll go to the final. Maybe we'll edge it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they knock us out. I really wouldn't. It wouldn't come as a shock to me at all.
It depends. When people ask me for predictions, I often say, years and years ago, you could name the team. If United played one Saturday, and then they did, even if they weren't playing till the following Saturday, you could guess what the team would be the following Saturday. Do you know what I mean? That's what it was like 30 years ago. That was the best team. That's your lineup, or maybe a bit more than 30 years ago now. But certainly in my lifetime, I can remember it where you knew what the team was. That'll be the team today. If we've got a game next week, so long as they're all fit, they'll all play again next week. It's nothing like that in this day and age, is it? So I always say to people when they ask me for a prediction, I'll give you a prediction. If it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, I'll give you a prediction at 2 o'clock when the team comes out, because you don't know who's going to play, do you? So I know what you mean when you said, Adam just said you don't know which United's team's going to turn up. You were talking about their effort on the pitch, how they actually play on the day. I'm talking here about you literally don't know which team's going to turn up, do you? So if it's not the right team for me, I wouldn't be very confident. But if he gets it right,
if you think about it, the most successful team in recent years, City and Bayern Munich and Liverpool, they always pick the same 11. Always the same 11.
City are not doing that so much this year. I know they've had spells where they have. He's making a lot of changes, Pep, at the minute. I'm thinking.
Yes, for example, the season when they had 100 points, 17, 18, it was always the same 11, always. Yeah. Liverpool last season, you could... I'm
a great believer in it. Like I say, I do think this year that they're making a lot more changes City than they normally do. But I do agree with you that normally it's the best way forward. How Lee does it. Obviously, he's possibly the best coach in the world, Pep, isn't he? And they've got they must have great players in reserve, because I remember obviously the treble year 1999. We had great players in reserve. I mean, I'm going back there, over 20 years, aren't I? And we could make changes in that team. You could make 3, 4, 5 changes, and you would hardly notice the difference. Phil Neville could play at full back. If Enningberg had to play at centre back, it was seamless. You didn't even notice the difference. If Sheringham or Solskjaer started instead of York or Cole, it was just fantastic. It really was, and I think that's the way. I hope City don't get this quadruple. By the way, I'd be devastated. Tom, do you think we've nailed down our top 4 finish with 9 points? I think ahead. Are we 8 points ahead of the 5th place team at the minute?
That's damn true, didn't they? In there for the game.
Yeah.
I think we'll be all right with top 4. However, I don't know if we'll finish second. I think Chelsea are looking a good side. I think we'll be all right in terms of Leicester. Leicester seem to always drift away a little bit into the season, but I think in terms of top 4, as long as we don't, have any proper bad runs, I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be pretty comfortable.
I think we'd need to implode badly, wouldn't we? Really, I think the one I'm looking at who's a danger. Adam, I'm looking at Spurs. I think Spurs are now 8 or 9 points behind us, but we've still got to go there. So
Yes.
if they were to beat us, there's sort of another 6 points to make up, isn't there? So, but I don't think Spurs are consistent enough, if I'm honest. So I think we should be all right. Do you agree?
Yes, I believe so. I believe we will end in the top 4. And like Tom said, I'm not so sure maybe about second place because it might change from now to the end of the season. But this is the thing. We've been second all season, and people say it's great progress, and we might end up third or fourth. The top 4 doesn't make any difference if you don't win the title. First, second. If
second,
we end
third or fourth, you get the same thing, don't you? You get your Champions League football. Yeah.
We could finish third with more points than last season, and it would be third again. It wouldn't be counted as progress or so-called progress. So maybe we'll get the top 4, but at that stage, it doesn't really change anything, I believe.
When I look at progress, Tom, I look at the points total, and we got 66. I think we got 66 last season and the season before. I'd call it progress. I mean, how many points extra have you got to get to call it real progress? If you get 2, 3, or 4 points extra, in my book, that can be sheer luck. That can be sheer luck. We had a little bit more luck this year than we had last year. I believe you've got to get at least 10 points extra, I think, to say that's good progress. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 10 or 12 points. I think we'll finish on around 74, 75 points this season, maybe 73, 74.
Well, if we got 74 points, that'd be 8 more than last year. I think that'd be decent progress. Yeah.
It's just we're going to be probably 22 points, 20 points off Man City. And we're just seeming like a cycle. When we finished second below them I know it was a fantastic Man City team. I think we finished 18 or 19 off them, didn't we, that season? It seems like we're going around in circles, to be honest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Right, lads, I think we might call it a day then, unless either of you want to bring anything up. Do you want to mention anything or ask me any questions?
I was going to ask you, Rick. I was going to ask you who your player of the season's been so far for Man United. I think I know who you're going to say, but yeah, I was going to ask you that.
You think you know what I'm going to say? I've not even thought about it myself, so you've sprung that one on me. Player of the season so far. It's got. As soon as I go through it, I've started to go through the team. Started to go through the team in my head, and I've got as far as the left back.
You can say Luke Shaw.
I'm not going any further. Would you both agree with that?
Yes, Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw. I have a very special relationship with Luke Shaw because when he first signed for United, he was probably my favorite player at the club. I used to love Luke Shaw, and I used to defend him when Jose was manager because I don't believe he treated him very well.
Yeah.
But the thing with Luke Shaw, and I know you and Flex, you always say that of people who criticize his fitness. I believe Luke Shaw is very strong. He's very, very, very fast. Yeah. But I would like him to be even fitter because, in my opinion, when you play for Manchester United, you have the duty to be as good as you can be. And when it comes to Luke Shaw, I think the sky's the limit for the guy. I think he can be top 2, top 3 best left backs in the world. He has that. His first touch is absolutely stunning for a fullback. His first touch, and I believe he is lightning fast as he is. But I believe he could get even sharper, a bit fitter, and he would be still strong. He wouldn't lose that strength he has. So that's my criticism with Luke Shaw because he's a very, very, very good footballer. Very, very good footballer. I really rate him. So he would be my player of the season. And
if you ask the rest of the fans, they'd probably say Bruno, wouldn't they?
Yeah, probably a lot would, yeah.
Because they all look at the stats for the overall game. The one thing I would say with Bruno is I like Bruno, but I think if you're talking about trying to build a team, he's such same with Rashford. They're such moment players. They can do a brilliant thing. They can score a brilliant goal or make a brilliant pass. But if you watch their overall game, it's just so poor. It's just so poor the way they give the ball away. I can't stand it. I shout at the TV more at Bruno and Shaw than I do at Rashford than I do at any other player.
Of course, because the thing with Bruno, I believe Bruno's a very good player that is not helped by the coaching system at the moment, the coaching staff. He would be even better with instructions and with discipline. He would be a good player in that regard. He would massively improve. And to be honest, to be fair, he's playing better the last few, maybe 2 months He's been improving his overall play. He's doing less and less of the silly stuff. Marcus Rashford, I really like Marcus Rashford. I believe he's a good player, but I think he has got to be one of the most overrated players in the fan base. It is stunning. It is actually stunning because people believe Rashford. People want to buy Jadon Sancho to play him on the right and to play Marcus Rashford on the left and to buy Erling Haaland to play 9 and to drop or sell Martial. Right, I believe Sancho to be better on the left. So if I buy Sancho, the one who's getting dropped is Rashford. It's not Dan James or Mason Greenwood for me. And for me, and that's probably you will agree with me, Rick, and maybe Tom, but the difference between Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial, and I don't like to compare our players, but to me it is staggering. It's absolutely staggering. There are two players of completely different class for me, and that's not saying Marcus Rashford is not a good player, but I don't believe people really appreciate how good Martial is. And the same with Pogba for me, because Pogba, yes, sometimes he frustrates, but he has that pressure to do so he does the silly stuff. But when Pogba plays in a good team and when we are playing well, he keeps it simple. He's a very good midfielder.
What the way that people bang on about Rashford, pundits, our fan base, you'd think he's as good as Mane and Son and all these left wingers. He's not even on the same, not even close, not even in the same stratosphere. He's so much of his game is just lacking. I'm not a fan, to be honest. I'm not a big fan.
I'm not a fan, absolutely. And the thing with Marcel is he can play.
I know you're not his biggest fan either, are you, Rick?
He runs into trouble too much, doesn't he? That's one of his biggest problems, I think. His decision making is not good enough. A lot of people think decision making is. You see people on Twitter saying, his decision making is not good enough. He ain't got a football brain. They generally level it at Dan James, but they're talking about when you actually get an opportunity to pass or not. I mean, look, nobody gets it right every time. I'm a massive fan of Anthony Martial, like you two have both just said. But I remember an instance in the derby at Old Trafford, I think it was last season, where he got the ball on the corner of the box. And I think it was Bruno running in towards the goal, and it was a dead simple layoff. And Bruno would have been in on goal, and Martial had a shot. I think Martial's a fantastic player, and I think his decision-making is absolutely fantastic. So absolutely nobody gets it right every time. You know what I mean? Of course. So Dan James should have passed one last week, shouldn't he? And he tried to take the player on. He might have got a penalty on another day, by the way, when that happened. The player just about got his studs to it. And people forget it. If it goes well for you, they forget the fact that you should have passed it. You know what I mean? But what people don't grasp is it's also decision making when you start running with the ball and you decide to run at defenders, even when you're on the wing, rather than passing it. I regularly see Luke Shaw available for a pass to his left, and Marcus runs into trouble and loses the ball. And I see it a hell of a lot. And for me, in my opinion, I think his decision making is worse, much worse, I think, than Dan James's decision making.
Would agree, 100%.
Yes, because the thing with good dribblers, Marcus Rashford has good feet, but I don't believe him to be a good dribbler. Because in the way I see football, the good dribblers are the ones who dribble when they need to dribble. Yeah. Marcus Rashford, when he takes the ball and he runs, you can see that he's thinking about, I'm going to dribble, and this is not the right mindset. For example, Anthony Martial, when he runs with the ball, he holds his head up and he looks for the option. And when the defender comes to him, then he has to dribble. So he has to run past the man. For example, Thiago Alcantara at Liverpool, he's a holding midfielder, yeah. And Thiago Alcantara is probably 3 times the dribbler Marcus Rashford is, but he never dribbles because he never needs to. But when he has to dribble, he will make the right dribble. He will take the right decision. He will make the right decision. The best dribblers are not the ones who dribble all the time. They're the ones who dribble when it's needed to. David was not a great dribbler, but he could. Sorry.
Unless you're Lionel Messi, of course, where you can just do what you want.
Absolutely.
Let's finish on that one. I'm glad you just mentioned that. Then let's just have one more question, and we'll call it a day. I'll start since you've just started me on this one, Tom. I'll start with you. The best player that you think you've ever seen, whatever club from anywhere, who's the best player you've seen? Do you think?
See, for me, I would have to say Lionel Messi, but I love Ronaldo. I prefer Ronaldo just because of the United links, and I just love him because he's just an athlete. But I'd have to go with Lionel Messi. Just pure ability, just unbelievable.
Okay, Adam.
I have to agree with Lionel Messi. I think he's a monster. He's an absolute monster. And the thing with Ronaldo and the fan base, which disturbs me a bit, is we love Cristiano Ronaldo, but I don't believe he loves us that much. I don't believe he loves us as much as we do. People think about that romance, bring him back. I don't believe he loves us as much as we do.
Almost every year since he left, there's been rumours of him coming back.
Exactly. So I agree.
Now, and he's about 46 now, isn't he? No,
exactly.
But
Leo,
I keep saying I'll call it a draw, but then something else comes into my mind. What do you think about Zlatan still scoring goals at 39? It's amazing, isn't it?
Well, Rick, as he says, he's not a human. He's a lion, isn't he? He's just different to everyone else. So I'm not surprised, to be honest.
Have I got that right? He's not 39 this year. I think he's 40 this year.
He'll be 40 when he goes to the Euros with Sweden. He'll be 40 when he goes to the Euros with Sweden.
Unbelievable.
Something like that.
Easy.
Yes. No, he's an unbelievable player. Unbelievable player.
Get a couple of goals. Right, we will call it a draw there, lads. It really has been good. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really entertaining. If you two have enjoyed, I feel like I'm finishing my show here. If you've enjoyed it, please if you've enjoyed it, we'll do it again sometime.
Yes, I would love it.
Maybe in a month or something when there's a few more games gone by, and we'll see where we are. See if we're still in the Europa League. See if anybody's nearer to us in the top four race, I should say. And let's see how we're doing. So
yes, of course.
Thanks a lot, Adam. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Enjoyed it. See you again soon. All the best, lads.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you very much. Cheers, lad.
Right, I don't need to stop it there because me lad will